Hello, everyone. Today's story is about a 31-year-old man, Grayson Kirby, and he had an awful accident in early 2014. He's from Mechanicsville, Virginia, and he went out that night having a fun night. He had been attending a motorsports mid-Atlantic power festival, and what that is, it's got several different activities that you can watch and participate. Such thing as tractor and trucker pulling. Not sure what that is, but ATV races, motocross, things to that nature. And, he went every year. He was looking forward to it. He was having a great time with friends. And when it came time to leave that night, he ended up getting a ride back with a buddy on, reports say, a farm vehicle. So I'm not exactly sure what that was, but I can only imagine or assume that it was probably something to the effect of like a tractor or something like that. This event took place in the country. Grayson lived in the country, his whole life. So, operating those kinds of things, him and his friends, that was no big deal. So he got a ride back. This happened about, I believe, the report stated he was leaving about 11 between 11:30 at night. What happened is he was in the passenger side of this farm vehicle, and I do not know, but I can only assume that possibly alcohol might have been involved. Reports never said, but alcohol had been, something you could purchase and take part in at the, event. So that could have been a contributing factor. Again, their reports did not say one way or the other. However, about 11:45 that night, the tractor ended up tumbling over, and when it rolled, Grayson was in the passenger side, so you can imagine it fell on him. He had so many broken bones all over his body. His lungs had been crushed. I mean, just injury after injury. You can only imagine. Goodness, I mean, I can't. But again, so several injuries that took place, unfortunately, that night. He was actually flown, of course, because it was a dire situation. He was flown to Virginia Medical Center, and that was in Charlottesville. And he was immediately placed in ICU. He was attached to all sorts of machines. The doctors, unfortunately, they gave him less than a 5% chance to pull through. When his parents, Karen and Wayne Kirby, got to the hospital, reports say his mom thought he was going to be, DOA, which is dead on arrival. But they stopped right outside the hospital nonetheless, her and her husband, and they immediately started to pray. They went inside. Doctors said he does have a 5% chance, which is not that much, that's not a very great outlook. However, his parents, Karen and Wayne, they weren't going to, give up. 5% chance means he was still alive. And so they immediately, contacted friends and family. They all began to pray. They didn't just pray, though. They believed, as what the report said. So when his parents were interviewed, they said that they believed. So they prayed with belief, which is very powerful. I personally believe that. Again, he was on ICU. The doctors, actually, they had to end up putting him on what is called an ECMO machine. And basically what that does, it's a form of life support, but it keeps your blood moving and pumping throughout your body, and it makes sure your oxygen and your carbon dioxide levels stay where they need to be. So again, it's a form of life support. And during this time, during his hospital stay, poor Grayson, he also had many other complications along the way. So he ended up having multiple strokes, it said, hemorrhages, Even his kidneys were failing. So it just was not looking great. His parents even put together a Facebook page because, as anyone can imagine, medical costs, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for here? But it's crazy nuts. We'll just say that. So they had to do things like sell T-shirts and everything like that to raise money for his medical expenses. But not only that, it ended up growing over 5,200 members in the beginning. And all of these people began to pray, and then it just kept growing and growing. Many reports said over 9,000 people eventually were on this Facebook page, including many congregations like churches all over the world and the nation, and they were praying. Prayers were flooding in. So they had a good support system as far as the prayer and the money coming in to help with the medical costs. So that was great. On June 17th, 2014, Grayson actually gained consciousness back. And it was amazing, an amazing breakthrough. And, you can imagine how his family, especially his parents, felt at the time. The doctors are telling him he has less than a 5% chance to live. But not only that, but if he did live, extensive brain damage because of all his, awful injuries that occurred that night. So he opened his eyes. He immediately recognized his father, Wayne, and the first words that came out of his mouth, he mouthed the words, "I love you," to his father. So you can just think and how that must have been. They were overjoyed. They were ecstatic. Right away, hey, he recognizes me. That means this is a good sign. He does not have extensive brain damage thus far. That's a great, great sign from a medical perspective. He stayed in the hospital, I believe reports said, for 6 weeks. And he was eventually moved to a place called Sheltering Arms Hospital. And that was in the town of where he lived, where he was from, in the county of Hanover. And one of his doctors, named Dr. Isabel, he even stated that the after effects, Grayson, he had been blind in one eye, and he had some residual numbness in one of his legs. But other than that, he's fine. In fact, 3 months after this all occurred, Grayson was back working on the farm again, driving all the farm vehicles and all that. The fact that he's alive is a miracle. The fact that he recovered so quickly with, residual symptoms, just blindness in one eye and numbness in a leg, that's amazing, guys. Definitely a miracle. And, his doctor states so. And then also I read that, now and since the accident, Grayson devotes time to speak with others and kind of motivational speaking, but he always gives the glory to God. And he always says that, a quote here, "I know that God saved me. I know that prayer and believing saved me," end quote. And so I think that's just really cool. He knows that he's a living, walking, breathing miracle, and he's telling everybody about it, what God did in his life. And so I just think that's amazing. I love stories like this, and I appreciate you listening. So until next time, see you then.